30 years ago today, a major international news event took place off the coast of P.E.I. Crews raised a barge from the ocean floor that had been there for decades. It had oil and dangerous chemicals called PCBs on board. It was called the Irving Whale sunk. It sunk in bad weather off North Cape in 1970. Some of its oil spilled when it sank and continued to leak on a daily basis. There were studies and reports and diving expeditions, and the decision was eventually made to raise it. That was contentious because, of course, there were worries that even more oil would spill out of it if it was moved. But on July 30th, 1996, the barge was lifted out of the water, and as you can imagine, CBC P.E.I. did extensive coverage. The main reporter was Ian Petrie, now retired. Here's a piece that Ian did recapping the events leading up to the salvage and what happened on that day.
The weather buoy was the first thing in the water. The weather would be foe and friend throughout the operation. The command ship took up its watch on the site in mid-June. And the Coast Guard officials went down one more time to see the challenge. With the original yellow paint still visible and what they could see of the hull looking sound.
No, not yet.
Then the Boa 9, the lift barge and home to the diving team, arrived. Its anchors had to be precisely moored over the Irving Whale. Then the real workhorses behind the project, the divers, started up. Diving, sleeping and eating under pressure 24 hours a day to prevent the bends. Welding, taking samples, always watching the clock. 12 days into July, the weather turned sour. The remnants of Hurricane Bertha blew through, leaving 10 days of winds and waves in its wake. The Coast Guard vessel and its frustrated crew had some unwanted shore leave. Finally, on the 23rd of July, it was back to work, but burdened by some tough questions. Would all the vessels arrive? Would the weather turn ugly again? The last two salvage pieces finally limped into P.E.I. waters, the crane that would lift the bow of the barge and the submersible barge that would carry the Irving Whale safely out of the Gulf. The divers put on a final push. And on July the 25th, all the pieces were finally in place. It was now time to attach the big slings that would lift the Irving Whale to the surface. One went on easily, but the stern sling proved stubborn and agonizingly slow to get into place.
Coming down.
Coast Guard vessels practiced for the worst, a big oil spill. Time lost all meaning to an exhausted salvage crew. Day and night, they kept working. And the operations chief, Captain Bill Dancer, could just watch and hope. 5 a.m. July the 30th, even a calm sea couldn't release the tension. The stern sling still wasn't in place, but 2 hours later, finally it was.
Okay, get off, get a bite of breakfast, you're leaving at 6:45.
And almost immediately the lift began, and the moment of truth quickly approached.
34. Starting to see a little superstructure over here breaking out. You're breaking out a little bit. Keep closer, coming out in the middle. That's a Roger. 27.
There it is. You can see it. That's her. There's the Irving Whale. First time seen by man in 26 years.
Hey Frank, you read me? Yeah, I copy. Go ahead. Are you guys going to go all stops? When does he want to put us on? Let's get some water out of it. We're all stopped, standing by. Okay, let's go, Wade. Hey, Johnny, you got a torch we can have? Yeah, we'll get it to you on the corner. We'll set you up. Joe. Boa 9, this is the Irving Whale.
Yeah, that's good here. Did you catch that? Nice one, John, from the Sir William Alexander.
At that moment, what was going through your mind? You actually see this lip of a rusty old thing come up over the edge. What'd you think?
I think.
The unknown looked less menacing in the daylight. The evil spell of the Irving Whale had finally been broken by big machines, ingenuity, and hard work. It became simply a barge again. Get the water out and who knows, it might go right back to work. Water contaminated with PCBs would have to be collected and disposed of later. But by Wednesday, July the 31st, the Irving Whale was a sea-going vessel again, no longer an underwater menace.
I was tense today. Today was the day I was tense. I mean, this is the day when you could lose it all. Just for a few hundred yards when the wind blew up at noon a little bit. Our experience out here is, even though it's not predicted to blow up more, lots of times it does. So that was probably the most difficult period. Once it was on the barge, then it was great. Once it had taken the blocks on the barge, then it was even better. Now that the deck's nearly empty, it's great.
That was Ian Petrie from our CBC P.E.I. archives from 1996. So what happened next? Well, the barge was towed to Halifax to be cleaned up and the remaining oil on board was removed. Crews found that about 1,000 litres had spilled out during the time the barge was underwater. Some of that was still on the ocean floor after it was pulled out. Some washed up on shorelines. In the Magdalene Islands, for example, there were bags and bags of oil that just got buried there. As for the barge itself, in 2001, Irving Whale actually put it back into operation. It's now known as the Atlantic Sea Line and is still listed as part of the fleet on the company's website today.